How you doing?
Hello there.
You out with the camera today or not?
Not at all, man.
It's been miserable, eh?
Yeah, it's apart from that snowfall we had, I've not been out since. Just
Yeah.
everything looks so bland once the snow's gone. So
I take it just this time of year, just a struggle for you because I hate it. It's sort of one of those you just have no inspiration to go out.
if it wasn't for lockdown, then absolutely I would do a bit more up north and stuff, or even more seascapes. I do some seascapes in East Lothian and stuff, but you're not really too dependent on the conditions there. It's like you put your seascape and you can have moody weather and it looks pretty cool. But I think for the landscapes of the hills and stuff, if it's bland, brown, yeah, it's kind of boring, I think.
Yeah, it almost just blends in, doesn't it?
Everything becomes just mush. Even if you have an amazing sky, the foreground is just kind of mush.
Yeah, nah, you're right. Because especially those photos that you just put up at Scott's View, the snow marks,
Snow just adds that extra element.
I managed to get up, I think once, to Scott's View when there was a little bit of snow. I rushed it. It was one night after work, and I had about half an hour, and the sky done nothing. So it was. It didn't turn out as well as yours. Put it that way.
Yeah, but I'm lucky enough to be able to go out and not worry about the time too much. So
Aye.
I don't have to be back at certain times for work and stuff. So it does help.
Aye. How is your work anyways? Are you just doing what you can from home?
Yeah, pretty much starting to run out of footage now. It's been a year of, I'd already pretty much edited all the photographs I've taken anyway. So it's pretty much been a year of going through all my video footage, which I've taken over the last 4 years, which is a lot of footage. So at least I've managed to categorize that, and then I know roughly what clips I have and what I need to get when I go back on location and stuff. So it's been one of those sort of years that I sort of needed to sort everything out because it was getting a bit messy. But yeah, I'm definitely ready to go back out to Africa now.
Aye. So I suppose that would probably lead into my first question about South Africa and just how you obviously got into that and how you got that opportunity, and is it something that you've always wanted to do, is work abroad?
I wouldn't say I hadn't really thought about going and living and working abroad, but 2012-13 I went traveling around the world with my girlfriend at the time. So we did 2 months in Africa, 2 months in Asia, 2 months in Australia, 2 months in New Zealand, 2 months in South America, 2 months in North America. So it's after coming back from that was when the sort of bug kicked in, and then people sort of complimented my photography quite a lot from that trip. So yeah, I bought myself a fairly decent camera when I got home from that trip and started doing landscapes around about here. And then we decided to go back out to Africa like a year and a half later after we'd saved some more money and do the whole guiding thing, which was pretty awesome.
Was that I take it was Africa just, did they approach you? Is it Time and Tide, is that right?
Tide, yeah. No, so the first, like, out of all the continents we went to, there's something about Africa that sort of draws you back. Everybody says it, once you've been to Africa once, it will not be the last time, sort of thing. So we went back out there and did a safari guiding course for like 4 months. And then that was in South Africa. And then after doing that course, I ended up going to Botswana to work as a guide for like three months in the Okavango Delta.
Nice.
And then when I was in there, I was starting to look for the next opportunity because I was, just moving around on visitor visas, doing work when I could. So I emailed probably about 20 or 30 companies all over Africa. And then there's one company from Zambia was the only one that got back to me saying, "Oh yeah, come and take photographs for 3 weeks. And we'll host you for 3 weeks." And I was like, "That's fantastic." And then about 2 weeks before I was due to go there was a fire in the camp in Botswana, and I lost all my stuff. Everything apart from my camera and my laptop was the only things I had in the office at the time. So I lost everything. So I had to email this company and say, "Look, I can't come because I've lost all my stuff in the fire." I had to scrounge together like 3 or 4 different currencies to get a 10-hour bus ride to the capital city and get passport photos taken, get my emergency passport, and then get myself home.
Jesus.
Luckily, the company said, "Okay, well, once you've sorted yourself out, you can still come back out." So think it took me about maybe 8 months to sort myself out back here, and then I
Yeah.
ended up going out and doing a little bit more guiding in South Africa, and then I went and did the 3 weeks photography in Zambia for that company, and then that's where after that 3 weeks is where it led on to being invited back the next year for 3 months. It turned into 4 months, then 5 months, and then next year was full time. So that's sort of from 2016 on to now is how that sort of panned out.
Yeah, no, that sounds a bit hectic, but
Yeah, it's never a dull moment.
no, exactly. But no, it is amazing, and just obviously following your page and that, you can see like all the amazing wildlife that you probably see on a daily basis. I take it, do you prefer wildlife photography, or is it just
Um,
at the time, or are you not really bothered?
Whenever I'm doing one of them, I think that's the one I like doing most. So like this now,
Yeah,
but I suppose now because of lockdown, I'm like craving wildlife photography. But when I'm say at Scott's View, say doing some nice
yeah.
photography, I'm like, this is exactly what I want to be doing right now. But then when I'm seeing wildlife, I'm like, why would I want to do any other type of photography? So I enjoy them both.
Yeah. So I take it you're itching to get back out now. Are you bored of landscape?
I'm not so much bored of landscape. I'm just bored of being confined to the same small area for landscape. But yeah, it's been just over a year now, I think 13 months since I got back from Africa. So I've never gone that long without seeing like an elephant or an antelope for a long time. So
Uh, what's
yeah.
what's it like? Because I've never obviously been to Africa. What's it like actually being that close to something? I know you've got your zoom lens and stuff, but it must still be amazing.
Yeah, you don't even have to be close. You can go for a game drive and see hardly anything, but you're still like pinching yourself like just because of what you're seeing, the scenery and where you are, and even the sounds and the birds and just like what you've seen on the television and stuff. So you don't have to be close to the animal, but when you are, it's if you're. My parents came out on safari last 2019. They came on their first safari to Zambia, so it was great to show them Africa. And once a lion walks 2 or 3 meters from your vehicle, the vehicle sort of goes pretty silent. Nobody's talking. Same
Yeah,
with elephants. Once you're like next to a herd of elephants, you're just silent, just watching them.
I can imagine. Well, it's always something that I've always been pretty interested to do, and I suppose it's probably on everyone's bucket list to not even take photographs of, just to even witness it. And it is
Exactly.
it's one of those places that I've always wanted to go. I suppose one thing about South Africa, obviously you do hear like that there's dangerous places and that, but do you think that's just like anywhere else?
I mean, all the wildlife stuff I do is all. So I'm always on safari when I'm in Zambia, but Cape Town was where I was based. So I lived Cape Town before, the word we won't want to say COVID. Before that happened, I'd been 2.5 years living in Cape Town, but I would be like 3 months in Cape Town, then I'd go away for a month to do safari, and I'd be back for 3 months. But it's not. You definitely have to have your wits about you when you're in the city like Cape Town and Johannesburg and stuff. Both have sort of not the greatest reputations. Johannesburg always gets the worst sort of reputation, but yeah, like it's weird. You get used to all the houses, having fences, electric fences, big security gates. You sort of just become used to it, and it's a luxury here. When I come back to Edinburgh, say I normally come back at Christmas, and then I'm finding myself walking down the grass market with my camera at like 11 or 12 o'clock at night, not feeling threatened. But you would never ever do that in Cape Town if you wanted to keep your camera gear
Yeah,
a chance. Yeah, so it's one of the saddest things because Cape Town's such an incredible place. It's like you've got everything you want there. You've got huge mountains in the city centre, surrounded by coastline. It's an incredible place, but sadly, there's a lot of people who are a bit more desperate, and they're doing stuff out of probably desperation as opposed to wanting to be criminals. It's
yeah.
quite sad.
It is, because like you say, I suppose it's two different worlds in a way, like your safari and then maybe in Cape Town. And I suppose the difference is that big that some people would be put off. Obviously, maybe you weren't, but like me personally, I suppose you can't knock until you've tried it, but I would definitely much prefer going to see the wildlife. I think. um,
Exactly. people like obviously my guiding and stuff was all trained and stuff in South Africa in remote places which are not the crime like you get in the cities. So
Yeah.
it's and my parents also went from the safari to Cape Town afterwards, and they loved Cape Town as well. If you're going there as a visitor and a tourist, you're going to all the safe touristy places. So
Yeah.
I think tourists will see very little trouble.
No, that's fair enough. Well, maybe one day I'll visit over there.
In like 2.5 years, I never had anything happen to me, and I never actually was in a situation where I felt threatened. But you're always, if you're going to the car to get something, you're always just kind of double checking, or if people walk along towards you along the pavement and they walk past you, you'll just always have a turn to see if they've turned around and are following you. And you get back to the borders and you start to relax a bit more, and then it's about when you go back again.
Yeah. To be I'm just laughing because I think I do that here. I'm always, especially if I'm going out at like 4:00 in the morning. Like, there's like, who else is going to be out at that time? I'm just one of those people that I'm always checking my shoulder and that. I'm just, I don't know, just scared. Put it that way, shiting myself.
It's not necessarily a bad way to be.
But nah, luckily I've not met anyone yet, so I'll wait for that moment. No doubt it'll probably be you.
Probably, yeah. You don't see too many people on sunrise missions here.
No. I take it. Do you prefer sunrise or sunset?
I think I always prefer sunrise. Obviously you get amazing sunsets, but I've always just enjoyed you don't always enjoy it at the time, but getting out your bed, not really knowing what it's going to be like. They're much harder to predict, so they're a lot more rewarding when you get them. And I quite like watching the world waking up as opposed to the world going to sleep. So
I'm quite similar, to be honest. I just think that it's like you say, it is quite unpredictable, and especially, let's just take Scott's View for instance. Majority of the time, well, not majority of the time, but compared to maybe sunset, you're going to get the mist coming up from the Tweed below and stuff. So it does. It just, I feel like you get more variation in your photos.
Yeah, agree. It does obviously depend on the location, but there's a lot of locations which work for sunrise and sunset. But if it works for both, then I would tend to probably try the sunrise.
Yeah.
I noticed when I travelled around the world for that year, I would notice if we were stopped somewhere for a couple of days, you'd go and see sunset at the famous viewpoint, and it would be like crowds of people, buses. Then you'd sleep in your van somewhere nearby your tent, and then go for sunrise, and you would have the whole place to yourself, which was always amazing.
Yeah, nah, I think I was a bit like that when we went up to Glencoe, I think it was, and it was similar, just busloads of people, and we camped, which it wasn't ideal, but at the same time, when you wake up and you have the place to yourself, it's pretty special. It just makes it that little bit more kind of personal in a way, like you're almost the only person that's got that photo type thing.
Exactly.
So going back, like when you first started photography, is that something that you started when you were younger, or was it literally just when you went travelling?
I took photographs. I had a small little point and click thing that I remember going on holidays to like New York when I was younger, maybe 14, 15 or something. And I remember like being really keen on it and thinking of what I was doing with that little camera. And I used to always just look at the Nat Geo magazines when I was younger. My parents would have them all in the house, and I'd just flip through all the photographs. So definitely always enjoyed photography and like sort of seen pictures when I've been walking around in my head. But then it wasn't until I'd say that after that trip around the world, or during that trip, was where it became more and more of a passion for sure.
Kind of going more to your vlogging type thing, because obviously that's something that you've started. And do you think that takes away from, I don't think it does personally, but do you think it takes away from your photography, like the amount of time that you have to set your drone, or your tripod with another camera, does that take away from you just getting that photo?
Yeah. No, because if I'm in too much of a rush, I just won't get the vlog scenes, and I'll do something later on to make up for the lost footage. I would never sacrifice getting the actual photograph for making the vlog.
Yeah.
The vlogs are great because a lot of the time it makes me want to go out because I enjoy the process of making it. So instead of just going out with my camera for a sunrise and then not getting much of a nice shot, but I still enjoy the process of filming the vlog. So it kind of makes me go sometimes.
Were you, obviously when I started these, and I'm still not that confident in front of the camera anyways, but before this I didn't put myself in front of the camera. I wanted to put myself totally out of my comfort zone. But when you done that, was that something that came natural to you, or do you still struggle just now?
Now, I think it would be different if I'm talking to the camera when there's people around me. I think it would be different. But when I'm by myself with the camera, it's no problem at all. Probably, I've always been told by one of my friends in Africa that they say I'm better speaking to a camera than I am speaking to people. So it's kind of, I don't really mind speaking to the camera. It's just if there's people around you thinking you're a bit of a weirdo, that's where it becomes a bit more awkward.
I know. That is one thing that, because I did actually, that was one thing that I started. I got a GoPro. Well, I say I got it. My partner, she she bought it for me, and she's probably raging because I hardly ever use it. But that was the plan, was to start vlogging, and then I felt like I was concentrating too much on that, and then I wasn't getting the photo that I was wanting. But then also, like, I was a bit, when I seen someone, I dropped the GoPro to the floor, just like stop speaking. It was just, I don't know, I just didn't enjoy it maybe as much as you, put it that way.
Yeah, for sure. And maybe once you've done more and more photography, then you'll start to want to make more and more vlogs. So you'll maybe do it more in the future.
Yeah. Do you have like any tips for anyone that maybe wants to start vlogging and that is already in photography, maybe for myself? Anything that I should try?
Yeah, I would start by watching, you probably already do, is just watching all the guys who do similar stuff on YouTube, and I take little bits of what these guys do and try and put it into my videos. Sometimes one of the things I probably do still is I don't think ahead enough, and I maybe haven't filmed something that I should have when I've been doing something, but I don't really think it's a car smash. I can probably just add a voice and then talk over, do a little voiceover to the video, and it's all fine. So
Yeah.
try not to get too caught up in it. I'm not filming something for BBC. It's mainly just an extra bit of hobby, which makes the photography more enjoyable for me. So.
Yeah, I think that was kind of the same with me with starting this. Obviously, we discussed it before, but I've not got the best audio or that. It's just the computer, and same with the camera. But I would have just kept putting it off, and I just thought, right, I might as well start like this, and then I can hopefully enjoy the process of adding better equipment and just making it that kind of overall professional feel. But we'll see how long that takes. It'll probably be a while, but I'll need to get you back on if I've got better equipment.
Okay, once you've got a few 100,000 subscribers.
I don't. Nah, that's not. I don't think that'll be possible. But as long as I've said on previous ones that I've spoke to, the kind of main aim for this channel is just simply, if we can influence one person to pick up their phone, camera, whatever it is, just go out and photograph what's around them, because that was kind of one thing for me when I started. I felt I didn't have the best gear. I just had a Lumix like G3 or something, just a £300. I don't know if it was mirrorless actually. I can't remember, but it wasn't it was like 16 megapixel. So it wasn't like a professional camera, but great to start out with. But I just found so much from going out and just taking photos, and it's kind of good to look back on those as well. Like not just photography wise, just to see what I've done. Because majority of the time you just forget about things.
And yeah, even it'll make you go out and go on hikes when you might not normally have went on hikes and stuff. You know, definitely gets you out of the house a lot more than you would probably if you didn't have a camera.
Yeah, no, you're right. Do you have like a favourite location that is either, it doesn't have to be in Scotland, it could be South Africa, just somewhere that you always love to go and photograph?
It's a difficult one. Again, it's like whenever I'm in that location, it's like I'm like, this is my favorite place. It's probably the national parks I work in Zambia. It's probably one called Lua Plain, which is, you know, it's your sort of what people we think most of Africa is like. It's just endless horizons, no trees. That's probably when I'm there. That's where I take most of my photographs, which I think are more fine art sort of print photography, because it's such a clean image with horizon and animal.
Yeah.
But in that location, you don't get things like giraffe, you don't get elephant, you don't get leopard. So you miss out on some species, but you get the most amazing landscapes as well. So and you get those huge thunderstorms that you can just drive around. You know, it's like hammering with rain. You just we'll just drive around it this way, and you know, you get big herds of wildebeest and all these things. So whenever I'm there, it definitely feels like a bit more special when I'm there.
Yeah, no, it sounds amazing. I take it. Do you like? Is your favourite photograph? Have you got a favourite, or is like obviously you probably like all your work, but is there something like a photo that you've got of a elephant or a zebra or something that sticks out?
Can't really think of a particular photo. You say I like all my work. I like the 5% that I edit and put out. The other 95% goes in the trash. But no, I don't think I have a particular photograph that is my most favorite. And people often ask, what's my favorite animal to photograph? But again, I don't have one. Completely depends on what the animal's doing, what the light's like. You know, I could spend an hour photographing an antelope in the beautiful light, or I'd rather do that than watch a pride of lions sleeping under a tree, for example. So I can't judge it on species. Like probably one of my favorites to watch would be elephants, because they're always doing something. You can always watch their behavior and stuff. So if I'm going to be sitting waiting for something to happen, I'd rather be watching elephants probably.
No, that's. I suppose it's a pretty decent job that you've got. So I'm sure you see a lot of amazing things in front of you. Put it that way. Just like I think with landscape, because I've never really tried wildlife because I don't have a zoom lens. I think it's 28-70. That's like my longest lens, just a kit lens. So it's not something that I've tried, but I can just, like, from seeing obviously your Instagram and other people that have that luxury with the zoom lens, it does add something different to your kind of photography.
Yeah, you definitely need something 400mm or something if you're going to go to wildlife. You'd feel pretty confined if you didn't have it. I think you'd just be wishing you had that extra reach the whole time.
There's been so many times that I've been out, obviously just landscape, and there's been a deer, and it's just I just see it, and it's just so demoralising that I don't have a lens that can reach it. I just basically need to watch it, and it does bother me, but at the same time I've not got, for the lens I want, I think it's £800, and I've not got that lying around, sadly. But if you could only take one more photograph anywhere in the world, what sort of photograph would it be? Putting you on the spot, obviously.
If I could only take one photograph ever, I would take a photograph of Earth from space, if that was possible.
That is decent.
Like in the International Space Station, having a look down at Earth, that would probably do me.
That is quality. I think that's the best answer yet. I've only had 3 people though.
Not competition then.
But really appreciate you coming on. Just quickly, I take it people can obviously find you on Instagram, YouTube. I'll have all your stuff underneath your sort of clip. But I take it, do you have anything, a website that people can buy stuff from?
Yeah, there's the website, just MacDonald.photo.co.uk, and I'll send you the link for that as well.
Yep.
Yeah, it's where I sell limited edition prints on there, so
Sound.
get over and buy some prints.
Aye, no worries. Anyways, enjoy the rest of your night, and like I say, thanks very much for coming on.
No worries, thanks for having me.
Bye.